Hey guys, in this video you're going to learn how to find missing angle measurements. So just as a quick reminder, don't forget that vertical angles are across from each other and that their measurements are equal. Complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. And linear pairs also add up to 180 degrees. All right, here we go. So for our first example, we'll have a diagram that looks something like this. All right, and so we're gonna find X, Y, and Z. Right, and we're given a 90-degree angle and a 75-degree angle. Right, and so the easiest one to find would be Z, because if you notice, Z is across from the 75, right, and so that makes it a vertical angle. So we know that Z is equal to 75 degrees. Right? Since this angle is 90 degrees, these two have to add up to 90, so they are complementary angles. And so X, if we want to find that, right, we know it's 90 degrees, and we're going to subtract off what we know, right? So we're going to subtract 75, which means X is equal to 15 degrees. And then the last one is Y. So if you look, Y and Z, or 75 and Y, those two angles are a linear pair, which means they add up to 180. And so Y, to find that one, we're just going to set it equal to 180 minus 75 degrees, right, which is equal to 105 degrees. Right, and so we use the fact that we had vertical angles, complementary, and a linear pair or supplementary angles. All right, other than that, then we also have word problems. And so let me move this up here. All right, so if we had two angles, A and B, that are complementary, right, if A is 37 degrees, find the measure of B. Right? Well, since A is 37 degrees, right, and they are complementary, we know that angle B, right, is going to be equal to 90, because they're complementary, minus angle A, which is 37 degrees, right? Which means B has to be equal to 53 degrees. So then next, right, so here, right, let's say that we have this given diagram. Right, we've got some points on there, so P, Q, we've got T, S, and R. And so if the measure of PQT is 8x minus 5, right, and TQR is 4x minus 19, right, and we want to find PQT, notice that we are going to have to set up some sort of equation. So here, PQT and QTR, notice that they are a linear pair, and so that they have to add up to 180 degrees, right? And so we know that the measure of PQT angle PQT plus the measure of angle TQR equals 180. Right, so PQT is 8x minus 5 plus TQR, which is 4x minus 19 equals 180. So we can go ahead and combine some like terms here. So 8x plus 4x is 12x. Negative 5 plus a negative 19 is going to give us a negative 24. Right, and so now we just solve for x. So we're going to have to add 24 to the other side. So that's going to give us 12x equals 204. And when we divide by 12, x equals 17. However, right, we want to find the measure of PQT, and so we're going to have to plug it back in. And so we know that the measure of angle PQT is going to be equal to 8 times x, but now we know that x is 17, so 8 times 17 minus 5, right, 8 times 17, if you plug that into a calculator, you should get about 136 minus 5, and so that gives us a final answer of 131 degrees. Right, and so we have one more example to go over here. Right, and so again, we're going to use the same exact diagram. Right, so we have P, Q, T, and then S and R down at the bottom there. Now, if the measure of PQT is 4x minus 1, right, and the measure of SQP is 9x minus 3, right, and we want to find the measure of SQR down here, so this is what we're trying to find, is that down there. Right, again, we have to set up some sort of equation first, find x, plug it back in, right, so that we can find SQR. And so notice that we find this in the same situation as before. And so the measure of angle SQP plus the measure of angle PQT equals 180 degrees, right? So SQP is 9x minus 3 plus PQT, which is 4x minus 1. And again, that equals 180 degrees, right? So now we can combine like terms. 9x plus 4x gives us 13x. Negative 3. Oops, that's supposed to be, this should be a plus 1. That should be a plus 1. My apologies. Right. So negative 3 plus 1, right, will give us a negative 2 equals 180. Right. And so now we're going to add 2 to the other side. So we have 13x equals 182. Dividing by 13, we see that x is equal to 14. Right, and so here, again, we want to find SQR. We don't know what it is. Notice that we couldn't exactly plug x in, but SQR and PQT are vertical angles, which means that their measures are exactly the same. And so, right, so since we know that, the measure of angle SQR is equal to the measure of angle PQT, which is equal to 4 times x, which is 14, plus 1, right? And so 14 times 4 is going to give us 56, plus 1 is 57. And so the measure of angle SQR is 57 degrees. Right, and so those are all your examples. Now go ahead, try the homework out. Right, refer to the video if you have any questions. Good luck.